You are Locked On Houston Cougars Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Houston on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The signature win of the Willie Fritz first season in Houston as the head coach. What a day for the Cougars on a day that was delayed to start, a day that was weird, a day that was a blackout at TDECU Stadium. The Cougs went out there and played some hard-nosed defense, did enough offensively, then made the plays on both ends in the back end of the football game to get this upset victory over a very good Kansas State team, a team that entered play today with just one loss on the season, and the Cougs pull it off and send them back to Kansas with their tails tucked between their legs and probably really crushing their chance of being a playoff team here in 2024 in college football. Hello and welcome to the Locked On Coogs Postcast today. Appreciate you guys for stopping by if you're watching live. Appreciate you if you are watching afterwards, wherever it might be. Always grateful for you guys to stop by the channel and watch the shows. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I mean, they needed one of these. And I know that we've had some shows for the Cougs this season that have been a little bit difficult at times. You know, I was an optimistic person before this season started, and I was like, I think they're going to find a way to 6 wins. I think that they're going to make themselves, eligible to be a bowl team this season. And right now, this football team, when you look at the schedule ahead, we'll preview the next couple. We'll preview the next game in just a bit. Arizona, Baylor, and BYU. BYU will be the tough one. But there's no reason to think the Cougs can't win their next 2 football games based on the way that they've played recently. And look, again, we go back to the start of this season. Is it perfect still? No, absolutely not. There are a lot of things that Willie Fritz and his crew have to recruit. But what I have enjoyed, and I just listened to him there briefly when he did his little post-game interview on the television broadcast before we started this show. And the last question he was asked was what's made him, most proud of this team this season and what they've done. And he's like, they didn't quit. They have not quit. And I know that that's something that is very simple to say, overall. That's something that you should be expected to do when you're playing college football. That gives you the opportunity to go to school, to play a sport in a major conference, and then also gives you the opportunity to possibly move on to the next level. But look, we're all human beings, and we could all, and they're young kids, like they could start looking out for themselves and whatnot, not put in the effort, but they haven't done that. And that's always been the calling card of a Willie Fritz team. The Willie Fritz teams in the past have always been so difficult to beat. And I think you're seeing the signs as the season has moved along. And look, they've won 3 of their last 4 games now. They beat TCU on the road. That's really where this started. Of course, they lost to Kansas, which was not a good game up there in Kansas City. The win against Utah, grinded it out. And today, today was like I mentioned at the start of the show here, today was the weird day, right? Today was the day where you come in and first of all, it's a blackout, which is, there's just always seems to be something when it comes to college football teams and they do blackout games. Typically you would think that it would be a night game, but it was a 2:30 game today. It kind of worked out because the weather today in our city is atrocious once again. We had the delay to the start of the game with the weather, and then it's just pouring. It just was a perfect scene for a blackout game. And, they come out and they hold their own in that first drive of the football game and keep Kansas State from going down and scoring. And, when you look at it, you're thinking today Kansas State's going to come in. They're probably going to run all over the place. But, the Cougars defense, that's 3 out of the last 4 games. And again, the 3 games that they've won where the defense has stood up. They've had some games where the defense stood. You could even go back to the game earlier in the season against Oklahoma where they stood up and did their thing as well. They're not a pushover. And I think the thing that I enjoyed the most in the football game today was it felt like the entire time that they played that Kansas State team, you could just take a look at the big boys that they've got along both fronts up there for Kansas State on the lines. I felt like they matched more than anything. The most important thing maybe today in this entire game was that they matched the level of physicality that Kansas State plays with. And that's something that you know that Kansas State's going to bring when they come into a football game. They are a team that plays physical football. It's been their brand forever. Back to the Bill Snyder. Like the Snyder era was physical football. It's never the prettiest football. It's never like the most talented teams in terms of like freakish athletes and whatnot. They play physical, tough football. And the Cougs today, I thought, brought that same energy the entire day. And that's, again, the calling card of a Willie Fritz football team. It's got me feeling good. I know that it's got you guys that are out there, and I'm not even an alumni of the school. You know, I know that you guys that are, I've always loved Cougar football. I've watched Cougar football since I was a kid. We used to go to games all the time. Had a neighbor that worked in the athletic department when I was a kid. So I've watched Cougar football forever. And, you know, there's been the eras that have been fun. There's been the eras that have been not so fun. And this era, I think we all knew it was going to come with it, was a level of accountability overall that this school was missing in its football program the last few years in terms of how the players played. And you're getting to witness. I think that's the most fun part of it because, yes, you know, is it a great year? No. Did it start off great? No. Have there been some really, really rough games to watch? Yes. But there's little tiny signs throughout it of growth. And the thing, again, that stood out to me today was the fact that they went out there and physically in this football game, they didn't back down. They did not back down one bit when it comes to playing a physical style of football that Kansas State likes to do on a day where you had to as well. Slippery, wet, gross outside. You know, I mean, look, Zion Chris is actually 11 of 11 throwing the football today. Who would have imagined that he'd be 11 of 11 in a game, you know, throwing the football for, what was it, a total of 103 yards. And don't forget my favorite name in college sports. I think everybody's favorite name in college sports, Man Jack. He even completed a pass today. So the Cougs were 12 of 12 for 111 yards and a touchdown. And they just, you know, here's what they did. And this is the way that this team has to win, right? They kept it close. They kept everything close. They didn't allow Kansas State to get out and build a lead because this team offensively, and we know this, they are not a team that's built for a boat race. They cannot keep up firepower-wise with a boat race. And today, they didn't need a boat race. They kept it tight. They chipped away at it. And when they needed the big plays here and then, they needed the big pass touchdown, they're late to take the lead. They needed the big run from Chris to go and score, to get it close there. It was a 2-score game going in the fourth quarter. There in the fourth quarter. 2-score game. And then they, you know, come out there and score 14 and shut them out in that fourth quarter. 3 of the 4 quarters today, they held Kansas State 3 points or less. 2 of them were 3-point quarters, and they had the 1 quarter with 13 in the second. What a fun day. What a fun day. You guys have deserved it. They've deserved it. And it's something that they are going to look back on. And, you know, it's another piece of evidence that makes it easier to recruit to your football program with what they accomplished today. And it builds back some of the trust and maybe some of the excitement. You know, today I don't care that people aren't out at the football game. The weather's terrible. Does not matter. You got one more opportunity to watch this team at home this season. Play Baylor. If they come off of another win next week against Arizona, I really hope that place is jam-packed for that Baylor game. First of all, it's Baylor. I can get down with anybody beating Baylor. Not a Baylor fan at all. And there could be something big on the line here for the Cougs in terms of what they've been able to pull off this season. from where the expectation was. I mean, go back to remembering how we all felt after watching game 1 of this season against UNLV. 27th. It was bad. I mean, they couldn't do anything. And today, again, like I mentioned, they did what they needed to do. Not the prettiest. They did it. 40 rushes as a team today, by the way. 121 yards. They only averaged 3 yards per carry. It's not great. But then you go look at what the offense did, or the defense did. Avery Johnson threw for only 238 yards on 39 attempts. Had the 1 touchdown and, of course, the 2 massive interceptions for the Cougs. They're late in that fourth quarter to change this game from Wilson and from Baton. I mean, just you made the plays. Kansas State didn't. Difference in the football game. You held them. They couldn't run the ball either. I'd say the Cougars, say that they can't. They didn't run the ball for a high clip. I mean, look at Kansas State, though. 34 carries for 89 yards. 2.6 yards per carry. You do stuff like that, and again, it gets back to the physicality of this football game. You out-physicaled them. Kansas State was a 9.5-point favorite today. Man, oh man. Hate to see it. I don't even have any beef with Kansas State. I really don't. But boy, does it feel nice when you beat a ranked opponent. The 17th ranked team in the country coming into this one. They're going to be probably about 25 after what the Cougs did to them today at TDECU Stadium. Let's talk about it being, as I mentioned to start the show, it's the signature win of this season. What that means, what that catapults here for this program, for Willie Fritz moving forward. We'll discuss it next here on the Locked On Coogs Postcast. Right now, though, I want to tell you guys about 5 Hour Energy. Our friends at 5 Hour Energy know that being a passionate football fan, isn't just a hobby, it's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, or an agonizing second overtime, which is why they've created the Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel. The energy shot made just for you super fans like us. The fans who are the first in the parking lot and who are the last to leave. We see you. Look, the Cougs had the energy all day long out there on the field, and you can have that same kind of energy by getting yourself some 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether you're prepping for the big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot is here to help keep you fueled throughout the season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with a 5 Hour Energy. Available on 5hourenergy.com, shipped nationwide. Locked On Coogs Postcast. After the big old upset win over the Kansas State Wildcats, the Cougs pulling it off, making some progress here this season. I actually needed to I meant to pull it up right here. I forgot the record off the top of my head last season for the Cougs. It was they went 4-8 and 2-7 in Big 12 play. Well, guess what? Improvement, baby. They're now 4-5, and they are 3-3 in conference play. You love to see that. 3-3 in conference play. 3 games left. We'll talk about the next one, which won't come until the 15th, by the way. They are off next weekend, idle weekend for the Cougs. Playing out in where did they play? Tucson against the Arizona Wildcat. A lot of Wildcats. Then they'll play Baylor at home for the last home game of the season. Then they'll be on the road in Provo against BYU to end the regular season and possibly be setting themselves up for a bowl game. That would be nice. Of course, I always hope when we do these shows that we don't have to come in here and be like, hey, how excited are you guys that basketball season's getting ready to start for the Cougs? Didn't have to do that today. because this football team went out and played its backsides off and got this victory over the Kansas State Wildcats today. And it's been, by the way, a very strange day across the, I think, overall day. Let's take a look at the Big 12 real quick. Of course, the other ranked team, Iowa State, went down, lost to Texas Tech. Like to see that. UCF crushed Arizona. It's not a lot of action today. Arizona State's currently beating Oklahoma State, but the Big 12 is now an interesting way. It's wild in the Big 12. Absolutely wild. There's a lot of teams now in play, and the Cougs have played, a part in that, in how this is going to go and how it's difficult for all these teams. And look, BYU's in the driver's seat, but there is still a chance for somebody else to get up there and get ranked high enough to get inside the top 12 for the playoff. And right now, look, it could be, it's basically going to be Colorado that's got a chance at that. And we'll see how that goes for them. So again, the Cougs helping out. They want to create more chaos. They can do that last week of the season when they play BYU. So I got no problem with another upset. They almost pulled. That would have been really cool if they pulled off 3 upsets in a season. They got the one, or they almost had the one in Norman against Oklahoma, 16-12 in that one, and then today playing number 17 Kansas State, pulling off the 24-19 win. But look, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, right? Signature win for Willie Fritz. I wanted to talk about that, of course. This is a guy that's got a lot of signature wins in his career. Off the top of my head, the last one look, the man won. How many titles did he win at Sam Houston State? I know he won at least one at Sam Houston, I believe, or at least he was in the. Maybe he didn't win the title, but he was in. Oh, okay, he lost the championship game 2 years in a row. So he's had some signature wins. That was it the Cotton Bowl against? Yeah, it's the Cotton Bowl against USC. That was a crazy game. That's 2022. It was just a couple years ago. This guy was, a coach of the Tulane Green Wave last year that went 8-0 in conference play. Tulane. I know a lot of people looked at it when he got hired and go, he's 61. What is he? Oh, I say 61. I'm actually making him young. He's 64. He's not a younger coach. He's long in the tooth in the college game. And he might not be the Cougars head coach forever. Well, hey, I shouldn't say forever. He won't be the Cougars coach forever. Oh, by the way, I guess got distracted. I've got the college football scores up in front of me. I know this isn't Big 12, but man, Aggies down 14-0 in the first to South Carolina. Would hate to see a loss for the Aggies today. Would absolutely hate to see. It'd really, really be painful to watch them lose. Be a good day. Where was I going? Signature wins, though. Sorry. Again, got distracted. This is a big signature win for him this year. It's something that you can put a stamp on and say, hey, look, we showed, and he's not going to hang his hat on one win. That's not what a good coach does. But I'm just saying from the standpoint of you and I talking, this is one of those ones that you could just go back and be like, we've proved that it's not impossible. Obviously, here at the University of Houston, we've known it's not impossible. Look, Tom Herman did it, but this is the Big 12 now. It's going to be a little bit more difficult than when Tom Herman was here, based on the conference that you're playing in. But this is the kind of thing that you could go show a recruit and be like, see, this is the style of football we play. This is what we do when teams come into our house and, everybody, they're going to win. Nah. Forget that. Screw that. They come into your house, and you're going to get that victory at the deck, baby. Are they still doing that? They still calling it the deck? I don't remember. I think I heard you guys calling it the deck there for a while or something, that TDECU. But for Fritz, this is a really good signature win to start his Cougars career. And it's building the momentum. If they can, again, go out on a high note to this season, if they can get themselves to a bowl game, think about all the positives that builds up for this program heading into their offseason. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. This is the growing year. You'll expect some more talent to be inserted into this program after the season ends in a big way. And you will expect that next year you're talking about a team that, maybe isn't going to be a contender on paper going into the season to win the conference in most people's mind. Like when they go to Big 12 media days next year and the media does their voting, they're not going to get any first place votes or anything like that. But a team that's more respected than what they were this season coming in. I mean, look, I think everybody, right? Probably everybody thought that this football team this season would be, without a doubt, the worst team in the Big 12. And they're not. They're right in the middle of the pack. They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're 9th in the Big 12 right now. 9th. Below them, they've got Arizona State, Baylor, UCF, Utah, Kansas, Arizona, and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's season's still wild. I mean, they just fell off the face of the earth after a quick start to the season. But yeah, they're clearly better than some people thought. And even if they're not an offensive juggernaut, they're a team that you can't take lightly for the next 3 weeks based off of the way that they performed. Let's talk about the next time that we'll see them on the 15th playing Arizona. We'll do that here in just a brief moment on the Locked On Coogs Postcast. I'll tell you guys right now about FanDuel. I mentioned it earlier when it comes to the lines on games. Whew. Probably some ticked off people that have some tickets on the Kansas State Wildcats today. They were 9.5-point favorites over the Cougs. Darn. Hate to see it. You can get action like that. You can get lines like that over at FanDuel.com. Get ready to take on the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Locked On Coogs Postcast for a couple of more minutes. Thank you guys for stopping by and watching. Don't forget to come back later tonight. It's about to get started now. Rockets and Golden State Warriors. I will have a postcast for that show as well on our busy Saturday. Not going to be a busy Sunday on this channel because the team that I'm actually wearing, my wife got me this new pullover the other day. And my dungeon here in my office is absolutely freezing all the time, so I'm cold. And I put it on. The Texans do not play tomorrow. They're coming off of a bad one a couple of nights ago up in the Meadowlands against the Jets. If you missed that show, Wade Smith and I, we talked it all out. Very bad loss. Wade really got deep into the discussion on the Texans' offensive line issues. So I would suggest if you're looking for some talk on the Texans, go and check out that show from a couple of nights ago. And, of course, we'll be back with you for Texans football next weekend, Sunday night football when they play the Detroit Lions. I've mentioned it a few times. Just want to mention it here on this show. We will. I'm not exactly sure which games just yet. The plan is to do some Cougars basketball games. I just got to talk with my fine folks at Locked On, figure out what we're looking at schedule wise. Probably the bigger matchups. Some of those. Would really appreciate if you guys come and watch and hang out and give us a reason to keep doing Cougars basketball. I'd love to do Cougars basketball. I watch all their games. So we'll keep you up to date on what goes on with those as well. Next time we'll see this Cougs football team in action. Oh, and by the way, before I forget, I've been just rambling forever. Don't forget to check out the Locked On Cougars podcast, daily podcast every single day. Go subscribe to the channel. It's Parker Ainsworth. He does a great job covering the Cougs daily, whether it's football. He did all the sports with the Cougs. Go check out his podcast. You know he's going to be absolutely excited for this win as well. Check out anything that he's got going on. Because, again, great Cougars coverage on the daily basis. The next time we see this football team back in action, the 15th, as I mentioned, of November. So they get a break next weekend, and then they go out to Tucson and take on an Arizona team. And I mentioned it a couple of minutes ago. Arizona is a team that is way below them in the Big 12. This is a game now with the way that the Cougs have played 3 out of the last 4 weeks, winning all 3 games. And I know that's on the road. Now, they've won on the road this season. They have gone to TCU and won. They should go to Tucson and win that football game. I would be disappointed if they don't. Am I wrong for that? I don't feel that I am. I think that's a realistic expectation for this team, again, based off the way that they've played and the opponent they're going to be facing. I think it's going to be interesting to see what the line is. I think the Cougars would be the favorite. I know that that's not the thing that you're most worried about, but I always find those interesting when they go into those kind of situations. So, again, a game that this team's got 6 wins staring right in front of them now with Arizona and Baylor left in the season. And I don't think a lot of people thought that was possible for this football team this season, again, especially early on the way that they played. It's now staring them right in the face. They got to go out and they got to execute. They bring this defensive effort. They bring the physicality that they brought today against the Kansas State Wildcats, and they're going to be able to go and pull that off. They pull off the plays that they made late in the football game to get a couple of big picks. They're going to pull it off. They win on special teams like they did today. Overall, like the important key parts of the game like that, they're going to pull off wins. Simple as that. A lot of fun. This is a lot of fun when they get to win. It's a lot of fun doing shows when we get to talk about wins. I appreciate all of you that stopped by to watch today live. If you're watching this later on, appreciate you as well. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on the channel. And don't forget to come back later tonight when we do the Locked On Rockets postcast. It's early. There's only a few minutes into the game, but they are off to a rough start against Golden State. So we'll see. Hopefully we get another win to talk about. We'll talk to you in a few hours on that show. And we'll talk to you on the 15th for the Locked On Coogs postcast.